I want to make sure everybody knows that.
And you're right. She's right about that. You shut up and listen.
So I think that because he's delivered on all the promises that he's made in the campaign, his followers are not only growing, they're digging their feet in. Go ahead, sweetheart. Hey, my name is Lauren Rhodes. Sorry. Okay. So I came here very open-minded to hear what you have to say. I also want to let you know that I do respect your opinion, although mine differ from you. Some of the things you said, though, I want to hear you back them up a little bit more. So, okay, so I know the research, especially about black killings in America. I make myself very educated on it. So I know that you are correct. Oh, no, y'all didn't talk about it. So you're correct.
I'm just hoping you're going to say anything against me.
Hold on. No. But listen. You're correct in the fact that, I'm sorry, y'all. So you're correct in the fact that black killings among Americans or young black youth is at a lower rate than white America, but you're also not taking into the fact that black people are a minority, so that statistically the percentage of white people versus the percentage of black people, that doesn't take into account. Also, I think as far as the Black Lives Matter movement, yeah, you have these radical people who are like, oh yeah, let's get rid of police, the Me Too movement, yeah, let's get rid of men. I don't think that's what the movement was made of as an essence. So
it's been hijacked.
You're right. You're right. But so the thing is though, my question is though, like in all your statistics and stuff about black people in this, how many of those police officers were convicted as opposed to the white police officers that
Hold on. First off, let me just say this. I think that any police officer, I mean, there are different situations that go on, but there should be convictions for anybody that goes out and shoots somebody without any reason or harm. So you're asking a question of something that I didn't say, and you're applauding something that I didn't say. I didn't say people should not be convicted. So, but I want to answer your question. First off, the rate is what I did talk about. The rate is that white Americans were killed at a higher rate than, not the numbers. I wasn't looking at the raw numbers. The rate. Hispanics, and I'm trying to answer, you asked me three parts. Hispanics and whites are killed at a higher rate. Don't take apart the population difference, a higher rate than black Americans are. And police officers are 18.5 times more likely to be gunned down from a black man than the other way around. So just to answer that question. What was the second thing you asked me?
The question overall is that in a lot of these cases, though, especially you brought up black on black crime.
Right.
And the thing is, a lot of times in the black community, when a black person kills a black person goes to jail.
That's not true. In the south side of Chicago, they don't even catch the killer at a higher rate. That's just not true.
But my question is, and all the statistics of white cops killing black people, how many of those crimes were police officers convicted of these killings?
Look, but that you're asking me a question about something that I didn't make an argument for. I'm not. You would never hear me launch a defense saying that when a police officer does something wrong, that they shouldn't be tried. I actually did an entire project when I was in school on the blue wall. Police officers look out for police officers, period, and it's wrong. But I would never argue that it wasn't wrong. They're police officers, because of the protection that is provided from the fact that they work for the system, are more likely to get off in committing a crime, obviously, than somebody else is a regular person. I think that that's actually pointedly wrong. And the last thing that you brought up was the Black Lives Matter thing. And you said, oh, there's some good segments of it. That's the point, okay? White liberals like to start these groups, these things with black emotion, so they can build their platforms on it, okay? That's just the truth. I mean, that's it. They get power. So they start with you because they know that we're going to be emotional and loud and applauding. We're an emotional group of people. I mean, let me tell you, if I was sitting in an auditorium at a different school, even if people disagree with me, they'd let me get through what I had to say, right? They bank on our emotion. That's what I'm saying to you, is that at the core of all of these movements, it starts on something that might be kind of real, and then it gets hijacked by liberals so that they can secure votes, period. And I'm against it.
All right, listen up, because I want to get to some more questions. All right, this is from one of the cards. This person writes, as a fellow Republican, I have encountered some racial issues while being a member of the party. Have you experienced this, and how do you deal with it?
So here's what I'll say. The Republican Party is splintered in the same way that the Democrat Party is splintered. I think that they're definitely, to me, is a part, and these are actually the never-Trumpers I would identify. I've seen this within the never-Trump, like within the Republican Party, there was a group of people that were never-Trumpers. I mean, obviously you guys know that. He was also fighting the Republican Party when he ran. And I've seen, I like to be cautious when I use the word racism, because I think that it's thrown around so much today that nobody takes it seriously because we call everything racist, and then everything's racist and nothing's racist. So I'd like to be careful when I use that word, but I will say that I've observed in that smaller market of conservatism, almost like they turn their nose down to culture, and because black people are really, we're cultural, like we're more cultured, I would say, and you know they don't understand hip hop music, they don't understand Ebonics, and they genuinely think of culture and black culture as being something that is like less than. But I would say it's very, very minuscule. But I've observed it where I've been like, I don't really think that you understand black people. I'm not sure if you're happy that I'm here.
Hi, my name is Lydia Page Moffitt, and I'm a sophomore majoring in political science. My question to you is, if you don't agree with the structure and the organization of movements such as the Black Lives Matter movement and the Me Too movement, then why haven't you worked with leaders to try and fix these laws as you see fit, instead of siding with a president's views who promote the oppression of black people and demean females when that's a direct reflection of you as an African-American woman?
Thank you. That was a really good question. Can I ask you a question back? How do you feel that President Trump has promoted the oppression of black people?
Well, for our generation, for the youth, a lot of what we see is from a social media perspective and from some of the tweets that he sends out or even the statements that he makes when they're offensive and derogatory towards females.
But just say one way, because I get this all the time. How can you support a president that oppresses black people? What has he said that has been, guys, gotta let her get her question out. Like, really. What have you heard him say that has been oppressive towards black people in particular?
Hold on, listen up now, we can't hear.
So if we're going to talk about from a female standpoint, there was a big blow up when the whole video footage came out about him talking about women in the washroom, talking about ground women by the private area, things of that nature. And if you want to talk about...
You want my opinion on that?
I like you first to answer my question, and then if you'd like to...
No, well, because the answer to your question is that if you gave me specific examples, I would tell you what I thought about them. Usually people like to say blanket, it's derogatory towards women, but if you give me an example, I'll tell you what I think about that. So we're talking about the grab them by the pussy. He said that groupies will let you literally grab them by the pussy, right? That's what you're talking about? Saying that that's derogatory. Anybody ever been to, like, I actually used to intern, and I'm not going to name the artist that I worked for on the road, some hip-hop artists. Anybody ever been around groupies? I'm not saying, first off, we're talking about him being privately recorded talking to a guy. I hate when people act like we're saints. I hate this. I hate the garbage of like virtuously going, I would never say that groupies. Yeah, yes, you would. It's in all of our music. It's in our culture. Yes, you would. Be real. I hate when we act fake. Okay? It's fake. It's fake. Okay? You know how people are talking about groupies. You can put on a Jay song and hear that. You can put on a Kanye song and hear that. Okay? So Trump says it in a locker room, and all of a sudden the black community wants to virtue signal. Oh my God! It's just I can't believe it's so boring that he would ever say this. Like, yes, groupies do a lot of disgusting stuff. It's in all of our music. Why do you suddenly not like that when it comes out of a president's mouth and he's talking about it in a privacy of his room? People need to just stop being fake. I hate fake people. It's just fake. Said it.
All right.
That's a direct quote.
Next question. All right, y'all listen up because I'm going to try to get
True.
a couple
You
of
know
these.
it's true. You know it's true. When people in our community, like we grew up listening to hip hop music, and people in our community will be acting like they're really offended about Trump's tweets, and I'm like, it's fake. When Jay-Z was sitting up on CNN and he was like, you know, he hurts people's feelings. I'm like, Jay-Z, have you heard a Jay-Z album? Like, it's just fake. I don't like anything that's fake. Period.
All right. I'm going to do just a couple more. All right. One question. This one says, can you elaborate on your quote, the most controversial thing I've done was decide to think with my brain instead of my skin tone?
Yeah, I did say that. It was because it's crazy. I've done a lot of controversial things in my life. I mean, I did not have an easy childhood. I lived through a lot. I saw a lot growing up, and I was constantly in trouble. Suddenly, I said I was a conservative, and the whole world blew up. That was considered the highest controversy ever. Is a black person saying that I don't subscribe to groupthink. I think for myself. To a black person standing on a stage and saying, I don't care if I'm in a room of 3,000 people that disagree with me. If I believe what I believe, I have the boldness to stand up here and tell you that these are my thoughts. So the most controversial I ever most controversial thing I ever decided to do was to think with my brain instead of my skin tone and to not subscribe to monolithic thought. As you can see, it's quite controversial.
Hello. I'm really open to free thought, but I feel like your attempt to educate has been an opportunity to belittle, because I feel like a lot of us in the room feel belittled. But my question is, instead of conforming to a conservative view...
You guys are the ones booing, and I just like basically got booed off stage. I'm just responding to that point.
Okay. Instead of conforming to conservative views, why don't you just reform and reshape what it means to be a liberal? Because I remember you saying you were a liberal before you decided to be a conservative.
Because every single one of the liberal points are hypocritical. They're just not real. Like, and when I talk about that, like a perfect example of that is just like that question I just said. Like, you have to be some type of a hypocrite to pretend that somebody talking about groupies in a locker room offends you, but at the same time you're listening to the type of music that we listen to. Like, to me, it's fake. I just don't like fake people. Like, it doesn't, like, so for me, I can't jive with liberals because everything is so fake, and it's like every movement. But I am, first and foremost, I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent. Okay? I'm conservative. My viewpoints are conservative. I believe in men. Okay? I think that we need men. I don't believe in this toxic masculinity, guys wearing shirts that say, I'm a female. I don't really like that. So I believe in the structure, conservative structure of a man and a woman staying married, not having multiple wives. Like, really, God, right? It's not okay to even believe in, liberals now are making fun of Jesus Christ and God. Like, my viewpoints are conservative in general, but me personally, I'm independent. There are problems with the Republican Party, and there are problems with the Democrat Party, but only one of them is getting 90% of the black votes, and that happens to be the party that has hurt black people more than anybody else.
All right. Next question from the card that says, why do you agree with the Tennessee candidate Marsha Blackburn, who is against equality in pay, same-sex marriage, and is against the Violence Against Women Act?
So first off, I actually don't know about the Violence Against Women Act, and to say that I agree with her. So in writing that tweet yesterday you guys are talking about, for those of you that don't know, Taylor Swift wrote this whole long thing about how she can't support women. And the truth is that I'm really sick and tired of particularly liberal white liberal celebrities. So the Lena Dunhams, who was the one that got arrested holding the Black Power sign this week? Amy Schumer. That was wild, right? Asking to be arrested and then posting and saying that they do it and then racism. I'm just kind of tired of these people throwing out their ideas, and again, like I said, constantly the theme is that they want to pretend that they're fighting for social justice, but in reality, all they're trying to do is get people to do their bidding by pretending that they care about the issues. If Taylor Swift cared about, black people, because her whole thing was about racism, fighting racism, I haven't seen Taylor Swift do much. I could be wrong, you could let me know. I haven't seen Taylor Swift do much for the black community. If you want to talk, if she was somebody who cared about the black community, then what she did to Kanye was cold. Right? Trying to pretend that a black man did something terrible to her and playing the victim, right? And then it's going to slide back into reality without saying sorry. I don't like it. So I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift in general because of some of the things that she's done. And I think Marsha Blackburn is a really great candidate.
Hello, my name is Mariah Johnson. I'm a psychology major. I'm from the very liberal Bay Area. I'm sure you know us. My question, some of the things you've said have been, they've been a little triggering, but I do appreciate your being brave enough to be up here. My question is, you said you were a journalist, so how is journalism a part of the problem if you yourself claim to be an advocate for free speech and diverse narratives?
That was journalism. I majored in journalism.
Yes, I know.
I thought you said I was a journalist. Sorry, I misheard you. So I'm sorry.
I was just saying that if you yourself claim to be an advocate of free speech and diverse narratives, then how are they a part of the problem? How are journalists a part of the problem?
Because they're hyperbolic, right? So it would be healthy if journalists presented both sides of the perspective. I mean, just try to objectively turn off the news and just read the headlines. If you just objectively read the headlines, you would think that we were living in the 1930s and black people were being lynched every day, and women didn't have the right to vote. It's really gotten hyperbolic. It's not the first person that wants to. You know what? Here's a perfect thing. Denzel Washington said a great quote. He said that if you watch the news. If you don't watch the news, you're uneducated. If you do watch the news, you're miseducated, and people are trying to be really fast to get out the thing that's like the most viral. Everybody wants to be BuzzFeed, everybody wants to be TMZ, and I think it's harmful because it doesn't create an environment where people can actually talk to each other and hear different perspectives, because there's so much emotion pent up because of the news cycle. So, I mean, they act like the world's been ending, and not much has changed. There's not really, I didn't feel like a different person when I woke up.
There are a lot of diverse narratives out there that are fixed.
So truthfully, 90% of the news is liberal. I don't think that's diverse. That's a fact. No, 90% of the news is liberal. That's a fact. The number one news station is Fox News, but they're an anomaly. 90% of the news stations, 90% of the news is liberal. Everything in Hollywood is liberal. So everything that we're getting from Hollywood, from hip hop, from celebrities is liberal, which is why it's so controversial for Kanye to put on a MAGA hat, right? Because it's like he's really by himself. He's like the only person that's having courage. By the way, you guys should know, if I'm not going to name them, but a lot of the hip-hop artists are conservative. They just don't say it because they don't want to deal with all the BS of having people label them and think that they betray. I'm not going to name them because it's their business when they want to come out, but you'd be shocked. Because here's what happens. People want to call Kanye a traitor. Kanye is actually the only person who didn't give up on the black community. Most of them get into it, understand how it works, understand how the money works, and become conservative because of that. And then they say, should I come back and tell everybody how it works? Should I come back and tell people that listen and buy my music what really happens and how this works and how they're all being manipulated emotionally? And they say, nah, I don't want to fall on the sword. Kanye actually had the courage to fall on the sword for the black community. He's taking the most of the heat because he's one of the only ones that cares enough to come back and try to tell you guys what's really going on. You can believe that or you cannot, but it's the truth. Thank you.
All right, here's one. It's a two-part question. What does your brand of politics have to offer black women? And secondly, you say that welfare is why there are no black men in the home at the hands of Democrats, but the war on drugs directly placed primarily black and brown people in jail in the 80s, created by Ronald Reagan. So,
all right, actually, if you want to talk about black men being in prison, the president that locked up the most black men in the history of the United States was Bill Clinton in his crime bill of 94, so that's factually incorrect. Most black men got locked up by Bill Clinton. And those fools you guys were about to put them back. Then I say you guys, I mean the majority of black people that voted for Hillary Clinton, which is absurd to me, right? So we were going to put them right back in the White House, the family that has done the most messed up things to the black community in the history of the United States. We had people saying they were with her. That to me was crazy. You can be a Democrat, that's fine. You can be a liberal. I welcome different perspectives, but you really have to be uneducated about black culture to say that you want Hillary Clinton back in the White House. If you really just must not know black history, what she did to Haiti and got away with it. I mean, what they did to Haiti and walked away clean, that's crazy to me. But so to answer your question, sorry, that was the answer to the first thing, is that actually the president that put the most black person in prison was the Clinton family. What was the first part of the question?
The question asked about what is your brand of politics? How does it speak to black women or a role for black women?
Oh, if black women would like to hear the truth about the things that we're going to, particularly talking about single motherhood rate, what's going on with the children in the home, without what happens. Actually, Barack Obama was the first president that ever articulated how harmful it is to grow up without a father in the home. You're 20 times more likely to end up in prison, 6 times more likely to drop out of school, 9 times more likely to lead a life of crime. That was articulated by Barack Obama, and it's the biggest problem facing our community. So I try to tell people the facts, whether they're receptive to them. I hope eventually they are. I'm starting to see it start to change. I mean, according to like my inbox, I used to just get terrible things said to me, and now when I look in the comments, it seems to be like an ideological civil war happening in the black community, and that feels good. And everybody has to agree with me, but I need to know that we're at least debating and arguing so that we're not a fucking monolith. Pardon my language.
Hi, my name is Elijah Jackson. I'm also from the Bay Area. And I have a question about something you said back in April when you were at UCLA. Why did you call the Black Lives Matter protesters a bunch of whining toddlers pretending to be oppressed?
Because they were. Okay, so to me, I'm sorry. I can't, and I'm laughing here because I just can't take it seriously. Again, I hate fake people. Like, I'm like allergic to fake, all right? So you mean to tell me that I grew up in a household being raised by a man who had to wake up before the crack of dawn every day, picking cotton, laying out tobacco to dry, receiving pennies for this, right? Branded in the face by the KKK for selling orders on the wrong corner. Never in my entire life has my grandfather told me that he was oppressed. Had he told me that I couldn't do something because I was black, or told me that there was barriers. My grandfather was only taught me exclusively that hard work pays off. Kanye introduced me to Jim Brown a couple of weeks ago in Chicago. Jim Brown, exact same thing. We're all bickering about how to fix things in the black community, and Jim Brown gets up and gives a speech and he says, the reason why I was successful, do you want to know what I did? I worked hard. That was it. It was that simple. All these conversations are crazy. Like, it's just, so the truth is that we are the most privileged black people to ever live in America, and yet we are the loudest in talking about our oppression. I can't take it seriously. So I'm sitting here, they're sitting at UCLA of all schools. If you've been to the campus, it's just like, really? And you're trying to sell to me, an audience, that you're oppressed because you have to hear conservative ideas on campus? You're oppressed? My grandfather wasn't oppressed, but you're oppressed because you have to hear conservative ideas on campus? I call them a bunch of whiny toddlers because I think they are.
All right. There have been a couple of questions. I'm going to ask just a couple last ones. A couple of questions. If people want to debate the facts, they're asking, where do you get your facts from? How will you share with them? Because they might want to check later. There's going to be additional discussions. Where do you get your facts from?
You should go to the government websites if you're talking about police crime. All of that's online. It's available. The facts that I said about Lyndon Baines Johnson, that's not disputed on the left or the right. So you can pick a source. Everybody knows he was an avowed racist. And they just released what files they just released when Trump came into office? I'm blanking. And it was said that he was in the KKK. And yet in our school books we learned that he was the greatest president for black people. It's insane. They literally created a different type of plantation, a mental one, in my opinion. Black people moved from having their bodies enslaved to now we seem to be in a position where our minds are enslaved. But we're comfortable there. So whether or not you like me, my purpose for me is to make you a little uncomfortable and to challenge you to think.
All right. And just to add to this, just one quick anecdote when she talked about crime under Reagan. If you read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, and she's a real strong black liberal, she talks about the Clinton and the war on drugs. So there's a lot in there. So just think about that. This question asks, how serious are you for being in the race for president in 2024? What would be your presidential agenda?
To keep up more or less the exact same thing that Trump's doing in terms of getting people off of dependency and stop making us government dependent and re-encouraging us to be independent. Believe it or not, and this is insane, and I can give you guys a video link on PragerU if you want to see it. Black people were doing better economically in this country under Jim Crow between 1940 and 1950 than we're doing today. That's insane to me, but it's 100% true. And the reason is because we didn't have this structure of dependency coming from the government. The government wasn't giving us just a little and not enough. We didn't have food stamps. We didn't have housing in Section 8. We had our backs against the wall, and our grandparents, most people that I don't know if it's the same for all of you in this room, my grandparents did better than my parents did, which is crazy because they grew up in a tougher time. So I think my agenda would be to sort of get everybody independent. And I think once people are economically empowered, they feel more empowered in general.
All right, so and this will be the last question. This is my question. So my question is, have you thought about why you? There have been a number of black conservatives, Larry Elder, Armstrong Williams, that haven't taken off the way that you have in terms of social media following, in terms of levels and spheres of influence. Have you thought about what's different about you? Why do you think it's resonated with people? I don't know. It's been interesting, and I just want to know, how have you thought about what has happened to you in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I have thought about it. So one of the people that I admire the most is Dr. Thomas Sowell. He's a brilliant man who has said this for decades. If I ever met him, I think I would cry. He's the only person that I'm truly a fan of. And Dr. Ben Carson, I had the pleasure of meeting with him too. Dr. Condoleezza Rice. It's amazing to me that these people, absolutely brilliant. I mean, Dr. Ben Carson is a literal brain surgeon, and our community rejects them as Uncle Thompson Coons.